In Chapter 7, we're going to start looking at roots or radicals. Roots or radicals they look funny. They look like this. And usually they have a number on the outside of them, like a 3 or a 4. Sometimes you won't see a number at all, though. Sometimes it'll look like this, in which case we know that it's called a square root, which means that the hidden number on the root, this is the only time we see a hidden number that is not a 1, is a 2, because it's called a square root. Okay, so what does a root do? So, if I have, let's say, the nth root of a, it's basically asking the question, what number, when multiplied by itself n times, will give us the number a? So basically what this does is it undoes an exponent. Well, easier said than done. Let's take a look at a couple examples. So on this first one, we've got it's a 3 root, so we'll call it a cube root of 27. So what they're asking for is what number multiplied by itself 3 times will give us the number 27. Meaning what number cubed gives us 27? Because we're undoing cubing here. That's what the cube root will do. Well, that's the number 3. So that's my final answer. The next one, we just see a blank root on that one. So what kind of root is it? Well, if we don't see a number on the root here, like we don't see one there, it's a square root, so that means there's a hidden 2, which means that they're asking what number squared or multiplied by itself twice would give us 100 under here. Well, what number squared or times itself twice would give us 100? Well, that's the number 10. And that's our final answer. Now, fractions look a little bit more complicated, but they're actually not. Again, this is a square root, so you're asking what number or fraction multiplied by itself twice or squared would give us 1/4. Well, let's work backwards. Remember that fractions, when multiplied, go straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So, what do I have to multiply by itself to get a 1? Well, the only thing when multiplied by itself that will get you a 1 is a 1 times a 1. That will get me my numerator of a 1. Now, on the bottom, what multiplied by itself will get me a 4? Well, the only number multiplied by itself that will get you a 4 is a 2. So, what this does is this tells me what fraction multiplied by itself or squared will give me 1/4. Well, that's the fraction. What did we multiply by itself? 1/2. So our final answer here is 1/2. With the next fraction, we've got the same idea. Again, we'll break it up into the top and the bottom. On the top, we have what number multiplied by itself, this is a 4th root, 4 times is going to give us 16. Well, there's only one number that'll do that. It's a number 2. 2 times 2 gets you 4, times another 2 is 8, times one last 2 does give you 16. So, what do I have to multiply by itself 4 times? A raised to the 4th power is a 2 on top. Well, let's look at the bottom. What about the 81? Well, what number multiplied by itself 4 times or raised to the 4th power will give you 81? Well, that's a 3 times a 3 times a 3 times a 3. Because 3 and 3 will get you 9. The other 3 and 3 will get you 9. And then 9 and 9 does get you 81. So, what was multiplied by itself 4 times or raised to the 4th? It's a 3 on your denominator. So, what do I have to raise to the 4th power to get 16 over 81? It's 2/3. That's my final answer.